What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Never Lag. I'm one of your hosts, Levi, joined by the man who fell in the pit, Zach. How's it
Hello,
going, Zach?
everyone. I'm pretty
Good to
good.
see
I'm
you.
pretty good. Good to be here, and let's talk some news.
Let's talk news. We got to figure out what we're going to call our loyal listeners if and when they show up. Someday. Are they going to be the laggers?
The lag people,
The lag,
the lag
never,
dwellers,
never fans.
never fans. Wow, that's perfect.
The
Welcome, never
nerds, the never
fans.
nerds. There
Never
we go.
nerds.
Or hear me out. We could decide that's totally lame and just not name them. I don't know. To be determined. We
That
have a
feels.
lot of time to figure this out,
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm kind of liking never fans. That's pretty good.
Never fans. Anyways, if you didn't know it, this is This Week in Gaming, the show each week where we bring you the news, the reviews, and the hot takes from the past week in video games. If you're all about it, you can support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/neverlag or for free by watching right here on YouTube or listening wherever you get your podcasts from. So let's talk games. We have a bajillion stories today, so we're going to try and get through these in a timely fashion.
Rapid fire.
Starting with a heaping pile of review roundup. Story number 1 is review roundup for Ghostwire Tokyo. It's sitting at a Metacritic of 75, OpenCritic 76. So mid 70s. IGN Cam Shea gave it a 7 out of 10. And it says, with superb visual design and an incredibly well-realized rendition of Tokyo, Ghostwire gets a lot right, but just doesn't quite have the gameplay chops to push it over the top. End quote. And then we have here the Eurogamer, Vicky Blake, with no recommendation. And the quote there is, mediocre combat and tiresome activities hold back Ghostwire Tokyo's otherwise spectacular, otherworldly atmosphere. So, what do you think? Is this kind of what you expected? Where are you landing after this reception?
Yeah, I mean, I have a bit of a horse in this race because Ghostwire Tokyo is on my Fantasy Critic League list.
Oh, you had this one?
I do. I got to say, it's not doing a whole lot of work for me, unfortunately.
Oh, that makes me happy.
I'm glad to brighten your day. Here's the thing. I didn't expect this game to be like incredible. I was hoping it would hit the 80s, like or low to mid 80s. So the fact that it's, 75, 76 is, it's always a bummer. I want every game to do well, especially if they're on my fantasy league, but I'm not horribly surprised. I guess I'm a little surprised because if you've seen clips of the combat and the exploration, like it looks pretty visually distinctive. The combat's really intricate and has kind of a unique flair given the type of, power system that fits the universe they're going for. And so I thought it was going to stand out a little bit more in terms of gameplay. Visually, it seems like it does, but the reviews seem to indicate that it gets really old really fast, which is a little mind-boggling given how like intricate and different that looked. I guess that's my main takeaway.
Yeah, I would agree. That seems to be by and large the main complaint with the game is combat just doesn't do enough to keep you engaged beyond the first opening hours, which is interesting because the flair and the visual spectacle that it seemed to be apparently didn't quite amount to anything, and it seems like it's kind of just doesn't make the cut. But everywhere else, it seems to be good. If you're into the atmosphere, it sounds like it might be worth jumping into just for that. So, moving on to number 2, we have Tiny Tina's Wonderlands review roundup. This one came out just this past week and is doing a bit better, sitting at an 80 on Metacritic and a 79 on OpenCritic. Games Radar, Leon Hurley gave it 4 out of 5 stars and says, an entertaining and silly mix of fantasy and shooting with a great cast making up for a slight lack of variety. GameSpot, Darren Bonthews, I don't know, sorry if I mispronounce your last name, 7 out of 10 he gave it, and he says, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands retreads the same mechanical and narrative ground as Borderlands 3, ultimately creating a chapter in the franchise that's fun but forgettable. So, not exactly raving quotes here, although it is sitting at about an 80, which is respectable. So, I mean, how do you feel about these reviews, the scores? You think you're going to jump into this one?
Not right away, but eventually. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands looks fun. This is about what I expected. Like, it looks like a slightly refreshing take on the Borderlands formula, but it kind of the vibe is that it didn't necessarily go a whole lot beyond that, other than the fact that they give you some of the fantasy creatures and kind of the premise that you're like sort of in a D&D session, which is cool. I think so. Hopefully it's a strong 80. I guess we'll have to play it and find out. I'm not going to rush to pick it up. I think I will pick it up. The fantasy setting definitely calls out to me still, and like shooting at fantasy creatures. The things Borderlands did well were fun. I was kind of hoping it would transcend and kind of be like a 9 out of 10 territory, but this still seems respectable and worth a shot.
Yeah, so I've been low key looking forward to this one. I'm not gonna pick it up day one or anything, but I will have my eyes on this, especially for a sale. I think it looks like a lot of fun. I'm one who's like kind of enjoyed Borderlands in the past, but never been like a big fan of it. I always thought I would like it more than I did every time I get into it. Um, I don't know. This game is kind of calling to me in that I think it appeals to me personally more than just Borderlands did, with that kind of fantasy setting. And it sounds like the writing is a little bit back to form in this game, where it was widely criticized in Borderlands 3, although it's still that, kind of toilet humor that we expect from Borderlands. But the one thing for me is the cast. When I found out that Andy Samberg, yeah, is a
Oh, that's
voice in this
right.
game, as well as the villain is voiced by Will Arnett, like I'm super on board for both of those. I love both those guys, and
Yeah, that's
I can
star-studded.
just yeah, I can just imagine that the comedy is going to be pretty good in this game. I've heard a lot of people
Yeah.
say they've been laughing out loud while playing this. So
I mean, an 8 out of
yeah,
10 is a
I'm
good game. That's kind of how I
yeah,
feel about the
totally.
Borderlands games. Are kind of in the 8 territory for me personally. So if this is right in line with that, great. And the fantasy setting, like you said, sounds refreshing, and I love fantasy. So it seems like it'll be fun to dip into.
I agree. Story number 3, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands review roundup. This also came out this past week. It is sitting at a Metacritic of 84 and on OpenCritic 85. So we're getting better and better as we continue to go down these stories. Games Radar, Heather Wald gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars and says Kirby's latest adventure is an absolute treat and one you won't want to miss. With more open platforming in an eye-grabbing 3D world, a generous helping of fantastic creatures in Waddle Dee Town, and the introduction of Mouthful Mode, Kirby and the Forgotten Land offers up a memorable experience that will undoubtedly make you smile. IGN Tom Marks gave it an 8 out of 10 and says Kirby and the Forgotten Land successfully warps the series' classic mix of ability based combat, platforming, and secret hunting into the third dimension. So, people are loving it. I kind of thought that I was a little bit worried about this game. A couple weeks heading to release, it seemed like it might be a little too weird based on what we had seen, but apparently it's hitting and people are loving how weird it is.
Yeah, I'm excited still. Like, Kirby's never been top of my list, but Kirby's charming. It's a Nintendo first party game, which I love. It's sometimes it's hard to trust reviews about Nintendo first party games because I feel like they inevitably do pretty. That's not. I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule, but it looks pretty good. I'm glad to see it's reviewing well. I plan to pick this one up too. I'm not rushing out day one, but I imagine I'll pick this up sooner rather than later, just because it's nice to have something first party to play on my Switch. Um, and this looks like a kind of a nice, uh, delightful little respite from heavier video games. This is also on my fantasy league list, by the way. So I'm glad this is in the mid
Doing a
80s at
little bit
least.
better here, yeah.
Yeah. So how are
Yeah,
you
that's
feeling about it now?
this is the one I remembered you having. So I was like, darn it,
Yeah.
84 is solid.
Yeah.
Solid. So
It's better.
I man, I literally don't know how to feel about this game. Coming up to launch, I was kind of like, I think I'm out, because before launch, or I should say several weeks ago, I kind of thought this might be very Odyssey-esque, Mario Odyssey. And as we approached launch, it became more clear that I don't know, for better or worse, this is a Kirby game. It's not Odyssey reincarnated. And it's got some really weird quirks to it. I guess I need to watch some more gameplay and kind of figure it out. I'm sure I'll pick it up at some point. Like you said, it's nice to have a first party Nintendo game. It seems we get those kind of infrequently these days. So enjoy. Story number 4. We continue review roundup with Destiny 2, the Witch Queen expansion, which has now been out for several weeks, but reviews just recently kind of started to pour in as it's kind of a bigger deal to review, the raid and different things like that. So sitting at an 89. Wow, it really is just going up with every single one. I didn't even plan it this way. Metacritic is an 89, and on OpenCritic it is sitting at an 88, which is I might say very impressive of a Destiny expansion. I had given some thought to picking this up in our league, and I thought better of it because even if Destiny expansions are good, they just tend to not review very, very well. So clearly this is hitting with people. PC gamer Phil Savage gave it an 89 out of 100. And he says, there's still work to be done on the game at large, but the Witch Queen is a massive step in the right direction. The campaign alone is worth the price of admission. Game Informer Matt Miller gave it a 9 out of 10 and says the Witch Queen is an especially robust expansion with a particular focus on customizing the play experience and rewarding longtime players' investment in story and systems. If it's not the most welcoming moment for players to jump in, that may be a price the developers at Bungie are willing to pay at this point. The long-running story arc that opened in 2014 is gradually steering toward a climax, and it's possible the developers are increasingly interested in building a ride for those who have been in the vehicle for a while now. End quote. So, I think these quotes do a pretty good job of explaining what's great about this expansion, while simultaneously explaining why I'm not playing it currently. I don't know. How do you feel about the sentiment regarding the Witch Queen expansion?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see something doing well. Part of me still loves Destiny. It's like an X, that you like can't get over. That's how I feel about Destiny. And here we are
I could quit you.
stalking her Insta. Yeah, this makes me want to play it. Like I miss the good times with Destiny.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I've said this on the podcast before, but the Taken King was far and away my favorite expansion from the original Destiny, with Oryx, who's kind of the Taken King, and his dreadnought spaceship kind of circling around Saturn. It was so epic, so good. The whole campaign was a blast. The weapons, the gear, and then the raid itself was one of the best video game experiences I've ever had. Even one of the best like life experiences. It was so epic. And this is kind of a continuation of that larger storyline with the Witch Queen. So narratively, I'm pretty interested in this. And anytime there's good reviews for Destiny, it makes me feel the itch. Like the gameplay of Destiny is top of the line. It's the best shooting mechanics I've to this day ever experienced by a fair margin. So I'm a little torn. I would like to experience some of this. A part of me wants to dip in a little bit, but it's the age old thing of like Bungie's monetization practices and the way they often treat consumers in every other regard, that it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And there are so many video games to play right now that it's hard to prioritize this given those things. We have Elden Ring we're working our way through. I still have a long way to go in that. And many other games on the horizon, but I don't know. I'm curious. Do you think there's a chance you dip into this at all?
Yeah, there's absolutely a chance. I'm toying with it every day. Like you said, the itch is strong. The thirst is real.
Yeah.
Every time I see gameplay of it, I'm like, man, I want to get back into some Destiny, and I really want to experience the expansion and what it does have to offer. I've heard excellent things about the campaign, that it's the best campaign, bar none. And that the raid is excellent. A lot of things that immediately pertain to the expansion seem to be fantastic as far as everyone says. And I want to experience those things, but I also know how Destiny works. I don't want to go grind strikes to get my level up to do
Yeah.
the raid. And like, I don't know how well this expansion gets your gear level where it needs to be through the campaign so that you can raid. But I'm at this point in my Destiny career, I'm really over public events and strikes and
Mm-hmm.
playing hours of content I've already played just to play the new content.
Yeah.
So I'll have to look into it and see. I mean, for those of you watching, if you have the answer, let me know if this expansion does a good job of getting you through the new content without making you play old content. Skill Up also has an excellent review that just came out today. If you want to watch someone wax poetic about the entirety of Witch Queen, he's always great to watch. And he goes into detail about how the expansion itself is fantastic, as everyone's been saying, but he thinks not enough people have really been. The saying has been thrown out there that Destiny is in the best state it's ever been. And he goes into great detail to explain that that's not really true. The expansion sets up really great things. It does an excellent job of delivering a coherent and impactful story through the campaign. The raid is great, but he says everything outside of that is essentially kind of a mess and broken. Like, the power creep is so real and nothing else has been taken care of or balanced in months or even years. PvP, I'm blanking on what's the PvP PvE
Crucible
mode. No, not the Crucible. The
Trials.
no, it's not. It's Gambit. There it is. So
Oh,
Gambit
PvP,
hasn't been
PvE.
touched.
Got it.
Yeah. So Gambit hasn't been touched in forever. Strikes, all of this stuff hasn't
I
been
literally
properly
forgot
tuned.
about Gambit.
Most of Bungie has as well, but it's still in
Yeah.
the game for some reason. And he just goes on to kind of illustrate that the expansion itself is great, but the majority of all the other content you're going to experience outside of that needs a lot of work, and there's some concerns to be had there. So anyways, go check that out if you're interested. Clearly people who are like into Destiny are loving the expansion, and I'm quite frankly jealous. I wish I could be in it, and I'm just not at the moment, and I don't know if I have the time or the energy to get to the point where I am knee deep in Destiny, you might say. So anyways, happy for those that are, because it's looks like it's hitting well. Finally, on our review roundup, not a game but a series, Halo the series. Season 1 reviews are out. It's sitting. I didn't even know Metacritic did reviews on shows, but on Metacritic, it's at a 61 with a user rating of 5.5, and on Rotten Tomato, it is also at a 61 with an audience rating of 66. I ran through a bunch of different reviews I found. I couldn't find anything terribly succinct to put here. But in general, it kind of feels like it's landed to a resounding consensus of mediocrity. Kind of just the typical video game adaptation on film. Quite a few complaints. The thing I'm hearing that people enjoy the most maybe is that Pablo, it's either Schreiber or neither of those, who plays Master Chief, that he did a very good job of bringing that character to life. And so it's on, is it Paramount Plus?
I believe it's Paramount.
Yeah.
So you're gonna. Most people will probably have to sign up for this to watch.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know if this moves the needle for me to go get a Paramount Plus subscription, right? With all the subscriptions we have these days. So I don't know. I might check this out at some point, but it does sound like it kind of it didn't deliver what people were hoping, and expectations are always hard to meet. But another video game adaptation that maybe didn't quite make the cut, it seems.
Yeah, I'm anecdotally from a couple of people I know, and then I think SkillUp, he said the first episode, at least, he gave like a strong 7 out of 10. And some others have heard of kind of in the 7 range, which skews a little higher than the Metacritic of 61 and the user score of 5.5. Metacritic user scores are kind of hard to decipher, because if people can review bomb depending on a variety of things, but it does very much seem like this is kind of turning out to be an overall average show. So I might check it out, because Halo is so epic and interesting. I'm kind of curious what it feels like, but
yeah,
it's kind of what I expected, is kind of an average, hopefully not too forgettable, but probably forgettable viewing experience, which, like you said, is the common case for a lot of these adaptations. Unfortunately, like I want to see more adaptations that are incredible. You look at League of Legends, which the Arcane show based off League of Legends, that was so good. I would love it if we could get something like that for Halo and for Last of Us and some of these other things. But
it's the exception, not the rule. That's for sure. So you got to appreciate those when they come around. And I'm curious too. I don't have I don't have a horse in the race. I haven't been a long time Halo player. I mean, I kind of jumped on the Bungie bandwagon when Destiny started. So, but I am curious as someone who doesn't have that much skin in the game. Like maybe this will just be comfort food TV, like something fun to watch. So, okay, we made it all the way through review roundup this week. Whew. We're gonna move into a Sony related theme section here, and we're gonna start with story number 6, which is Polyphony / Sony issue apology for the state of GT7, which quite frankly was inevitable if you've been following the news of the past 10 days, really since launch, but the past 10 days especially. If you want to hear two grown men complain about it for a very long time, you can go back to our most recent NeverQuest episode where
it's riveting.
It's riveting, and we really have a breakdown, as we say here at Neverlag. But the short of it is, there's been a lot of outcry over Gran Turismo 7's microtransactions and the effects that it's had throughout the game, all coming to a head with the most recent patch, which was about 10 days ago now. Well, actually, they may have a new patch since then, but this is when this all happened. And when the patch was supposed to go live, servers actually went down for about 30 hours. And because this game is not available offline, no one had access to the game for 30 hours, not even the campaign, none of the single player stuff. And then in addition, the patch brought some nerfs to a lot of rewards from various races people were using to grind credits. So all of which just kind of really showed their true colors here with regards to the monetization in this game. And so here we are. We have the obligatory apology on the PlayStation blog website from Kazunori Yamauchi, who is the president of Polyphony Digital and the creator of Gran Turismo. And I wasn't sure if I'm gonna just kind of read through this. I might skip if I see something worth skipping, but he says, "Dear Gran Turismo community, thank you for your continued support and feedback on Gran Turismo 7. Your voices have not gone unheard. I would like to apologize for the frustration and confusion caused last week with our patch updates, which resulted in not only a server outage, but also adjustments to the in-game economy, which were made without a clear explanation to our community. We know that this is not the Gran Turismo experience you expect, and we will be making a goodwill gesture in the form of a non-paid credit pack of 1 million credits available to those players who have been affected. You will see this hit your account shortly. Make sure you log into the game before April 25th to claim your credits. The patch update previously deployed was intended to rectify an issue with inconsistent reward payouts within a part of the World Circuit events. But to reestablish the intended equilibrium and provide more accurate rewards based on time investment and completion, it was necessary to recalculate the reward system as a whole. To improve the player experience, we will be rolling out a considerable patch in the beginning of April. The number of events will be increased, and we will reestablish the reward system with greater balance throughout the game to benefit all players." Then he goes on to list the update and what it will do at the beginning of April. Increases rewards in the event in the latter half of the world circuits by approximately 100% on average. Addition of high rewards for clearing the circuit experience in all gold, all bronze results. Increase of rewards in online races. Some new endurance race event missions, which will have higher rewards. Increase the upper limit of non-paid credits in player wallets from 20 million to 100 million, which I didn't even know that was a thing. That's also egregious. But anyways, increase the quantity of used and legend cars on offer at any given time. Finally, we also want to take an opportunity to lay out some near-term updates we are working on. So these are things they intend to do in the future, but don't have an exact date. And these include Let's see here. Increase the payout value of limited time rewards as we develop as a live service. Further World Circuit event additions. Addition of endurance races, including 24-hour races. Addition of online time trials and rewards to match. And then also making it so cars can be sold.
Thank goodness.
We want to, I know, right? We want to thank you for your continued patience and valuable feedback as we grow and evolve GT7 to make it as enjoyable and rewarding for as many players as possible. We always want to keep communication lines open with our community so that we can work together to build the best racing experience possible. So, I've been seeing a lot of videos pop up on YouTube and articles with the headlines, Gran Turismo is fixed, or
Yay.
you know, everything is resolved.
Yeah.
And I just find those so
they're just,
I don't know.
I mean, this is the response Polyphony had to have because of the PR nightmare they created for themselves. Them and Sony created for themselves. So is this, I mean, this isn't bad, right? This is good. These are things that,
no, this is
definitely good. I mean, some of the features that they're working to include, like ability to sell cars, great. I mean, we don't really have a timeline on that, so we'll have to wait and see. Like, take everything with grains of salt these days. Sony has said things in public statements and then done the opposite in the future. Like, you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt, but the direction sounds good. I mean, I think giving everybody a 1 million credit who is impacted. I'm curious what that means. Who is impacted? Does that mean you're an active player?
I'm pretty sure it just means if you own the game and have an account.
Okay. Well, let's hope, because that's good. That's something.
Right? I remember seeing that elsewhere. I logged on today to check it out. I did have 1 million credits in the gift shop. But overall, these are good improvements, but they are well and truly a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And they're kind of the bare minimum here. They're
surface level to deal with the PR stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, because, and it's good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's good. But the problem, like, if you look at the first line in their future direction, they say, increase the payout value of limited time rewards as we develop as a live service, which tells you that's their number one goal. They want this to be a live service. They keep talking about equilibrium of the payout system. Who's to stop them from changing their minds down the road, or 6 months from now, or
determine what the equilibrium is?
Right. 6 months from now, everything's blown over. People are more happy. They can start tinkering again. And we've seen this with a ton of live service games. This has been frustrating with Destiny and so many of the others, where it's not like they just settle on an equilibrium that is comfortable for everyone and you're good. They're always going to be looking to optimize for profit. They're a corporation, and live service that's the incentive for a game like this. So the fundamentals of this game are the same. They're making some necessary fixes based on the PR storm that they've invoked. So good that these are happening. I'm glad they're acknowledging it. It's good to get an apology and some Band-Aids, but I'm still worried about the long-term future.
Yeah, same here. I'm as well frustrated with any of the community who are taking this and running with it as the game is fixed, because it's not. And this is just, to me, this feels like a classic taking 5 steps over the line and then taking 2 steps back and being like, we listened, we want to open feedback, look at how much we're going to make things right. Well, there's still 3 steps over the line.
It's Bungie 101.
But now they've shifted the perception, right? And it's just this constant battle with live service games. And quite frankly, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't want the Destiny of Gran Turismo games. I just wanted, this was touted as a return to form, or return to the old campaigns that we had back in the day before Gran Turismo Sport was a thing. So for me, this doesn't really fix anything. It's a Band-Aid. And also glaringly omitted from not even mentioned here, are any of the DRM issues. Regarding,
because they're not changing that.
They're not going to change it.
That's why we go back to the foundations of the game are the same.
Yeah, exactly. He says nothing about the outcry from players to have this game available offline, because that fundamentally messes with their microtransaction economy, people being able to manipulate their saves and gain currency. Right. So he doesn't even talk about it here.
Yeah, and he kind of does the obfuscation, or the politician tactic, where you point at something else to distract everybody by focusing on, we're going to work on these server outages, we're going to get you more credits, we're going to balance and adjust some things, but they're not changing that. And that's because in the future, if they want to change the equilibrium of the monetary system again, they can do that. They can put through a patch. Also, it's like someone who just had a 30-hour server outage. I'm sorry if I don't trust you to be like have a handle on your servers in the future. It's not like this was like 3 hours. Like this
Yeah, I
was a
know.
30-hour server
I know he
outage.
talks about adding endurance races, 24-hour races, and I'm just like, why would I ever even start one of those in your always online fiasco? Like,
No.
I can't even if I wanted to, I can't even bring myself to consider that, because if you get 18 hours in and the servers crash or my internet goes down,
Can you
I'm out
imagine?
18 hours. Like, I just don't understand what this
Can
game
you
is, and
can you imagine
I
getting
can,
booted at the
unfortunately.
23rd hour? Me too.
Yeah, right.
And that's the thing is like this game there some of the band-aids are, take them where if you can, while you can get them, if you still want to play this game. And it's, I think that's about what it is. I think Sony and
Yeah,
Polyphony are too interested in the live service model. And unfortunately, I don't know that this one's, slap in the wrist is going to be enough to deter Sony from their future endeavors. They have what, 9 more lined up over the next 5 years. So
yeah, which we'll talk about a little bit more today. But yeah, call me a pessimist, call me grumpy, whatever you want to call me. This good news apology article to me kind of felt a little depressing, because it was very indicative of how far they're not willing to go to appease fans. That they'll do the bare minimum to try and get sentiment back in the right direction. So we'll see if they make some bigger changes down the line. I'll eat my words and I'll be glad, because I'll
yeah,
have the game I was
I
hoping
hope
to
they
get.
do. I
But
hope they step up. Like, I feel the same way. I'm totally if they fix all of this and we're completely wrong, great. I would love that. I love this game. It's a lot of fun. Even with all of this, I'm still gonna play some more of it. I would play a lot more if they were working on the foundational stuff. But it's a fun game. But like we have to acknowledge that the state of the game is very focused on exploiting its players, and it's unfortunate.
yeah, well, we'll keep you updated in the future and complain a little bit more about GT7. All right, story number 7, still to do with Sony. This past week, Sony acquires Haven Studios officially. This coming from VGC. Sony and PlayStation have announced its latest acquisition in the form of Haven Studios, a new development studio led by Jade Raymond, perhaps best known as being the Assassin's Creed co-creator. In an interview over on gamesindustry.biz, PlayStation Studios head Herman Holst notes that what Haven has created is so exciting for us. There was just a desire to deepen that relationship. Apparently, PlayStation has been, end quote, by the way, apparently PlayStation has been impressed by what Haven has created for the publisher and how it is coming together. Per Holst, Haven is ahead of schedule, a rarity in this industry, and the team's progress prompted Sony to invest deeply and do this properly. There were no purchase details that were disclosed, so we don't really know how much this acquisition was made for. And then an article from GameSpot goes on to detail a little bit more about what Haven Studios are working on. And it says, and this is from Jade Raymond, this is a quote from her. She says, "Our first new IP for PlayStation is on track to deliver a AAA multiplayer experience with a vision to build a systemic and evolving world focused on freedom, thrill, and playfulness that will keep players entertained and engaged for years," Raymond said. End quote. So a lot to pick apart there. What are your feelings on this acquisition and what they're working on?
I don't know. Assassin's Creed, like I played the original. Actually really liked the original Assassin's Creed, but that was what, 15 years ago. So a co-creator of that, yeah, that you have my attention a little bit. Other than that, like, I guess Sony claims they were impressed with the amount of progress Haven has made with their game in a certain amount of time. I don't know that I trust Sony on like logistics or like planning for some of these things. Like there's been enough upsets with like releasing games in states that aren't ready that hard to know how to feel about that. Being ahead of schedule. So maybe, I guess that's good. Raymond's description of the game is kind of generic at the moment, like a AAA multiplayer experience, systemic
Yeah,
and
it's very
evolving
boilerplate.
world. A lot of
It's like
buzzwords in
it's
there.
like the prototypical Destiny quote.
Yeah,
We want
and
this
not
to
even
be
that.
the
It's like
next. decade-long live service
It doesn't
game.
even talk. It talks about freedom, thrill, and playfulness. Like, isn't that video games? Like, we intend for this to
Yeah,
be fun, a revolutionary new experience where you enjoy it.
where you may or may not use a controller
Your eyes will take in images and videos. Your ears will take in sounds
in an interactive fashion.
through an interactive thing known as a controller. No, I'm being a jerk. I don't really know. It was a pretty
What a
generic
jerk.
statement. The clear indication is that it's a multi-year. It's another. It's another live service game, right? And I gotta say, saying that you have a live service game does not get me excited these days. Does that mean I don't enjoy any live services? No, I'm not against there being some live service games, but I'm tired of the industry being obsessed with making everything a live service. That's what ruined the Avengers game. That games like Destiny that literally are just live service games, I think are structurally questionable because of the live service model. And the incentives, again, goes back to corporations trying to eke out profits. And that inevitably tips in the scale of profits over fun or playfulness, as they call it, over time. And it leaves for too much of that experience to be messed with. So I guess we'll see. I'm curious. Absolutely. This feels like another one of Sony's big multi-service, live service, microtransaction moves. And I just really hope that Sony doesn't dial back the amount of, single player campaign contained experiences. Like, if they're doing this in addition to everything they were going to do, I guess that's fine. I'm a little worried that they're going to try and skew in the direction of more live service games than not. But what do you think?
That too is my concern, and it's a growing concern after we've been dealing with what we've been dealing with Gran Turismo 7. You boil how is it? You boil a frog slowly, right? But it feels like we've been thrown into scalding hot water here with Gran Turismo 7. They just went from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm very concerned. Everything live service to do with Sony, I don't trust until I'm proven otherwise. At this point, I am intrigued that, I mean, Sony put their money where their mouth is, and they purchased Haven. So whatever they've seen,
True.
in the what, maybe, I think it's been a year since they announced their relationship with Haven Studios. So in a year, whatever Haven have managed to do was impressive enough for Sony to put money on the table. So
Yeah.
that is intriguing. I mean, surely.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what this game ends up being. It really sounds like a Destiny type game. I don't know if we've gotten any confirmation on what the gameplay is going to be like. I feel like I've heard this is a first person shooter, but I could have just made that up.
Here's a couple of words from Raymond herself that should clear things up. Systemic.
Yes,
here's another one.
Playful.
Evolving. Oh, playful. That's one of them. Freedom. Entertained. Yeah.
So, I don't know. And at the same time, like, it's not a competitor to Destiny anyways, because I mean, if the guy who sells you bananas opens up another banana stand, he's not going to compete with himself, right? So
what are you doing? This can't be having.
What are you doing? That's called you're just franchising. So, anyways, it's not like it would even be competition for Destiny if that's the case, because that could be cool too. But I don't know. We'll wait to see. Hopefully, whatever they have to show is impressive and doesn't betray our trust when it comes to the monetization involved within. Story number 8, last one, PS5 or PlayStation focused here. PlayStation 5 had a software update. The PlayStation blog details everything. I will try and kind of skim through here and pick some of the main parts. Basically, there's new party chat options, which allow you to keep chats open or closed when you start them. Let's see. If you want to report something that someone said in a party, there are now visual indicators for you to identify who is speaking. Share play can be started directly from the voice chat card, which is nice. You can individually adjust the voice chat volume of each player in a party on PS4, just like you can on PS5. Let's see here. And then they've taken the game base, which I think is a widely criticized thing. If you're familiar with it, it doesn't seem to work very intuitively. And they've now divided it into 3 separate functions. Let's see, friends, parties, and messages. So hopefully that will alleviate the unintuitive process that is to some extent. And let's see here. You can now filter your games by genre, which is kind of cool. You can now pin games to your home screen. Up to 5 can be pinned. And they have increased the amount of games that can show on your main screen, I think, to 14. I'm trying to find it. You can now have a total of 14 games and apps appear on your home screen. They've also added actual backgrounds to the trophy UI. I don't know if you're familiar, but if you open up your trophies, it was just kind of a blank, obviously unfinished background plate, and now it actually has a depiction of a bronze or a silver trophy, which is a nice finishing touch. They've also added languages. There's new voice commands, and in the future, they will be looking to add VRR support at some point. So, some nice quality of life updates there, and there's more to it if you'd like to go check out. PlayStation blog website has everything in detail. Okay, story number 9. This past week, Unity, and this was at GDC. Unity releases a new tech demo called Enemies. Did you get a chance to watch this?
I actually did not. Viewers, never fans. I failed to do my homework this week, so maybe I'll splice in some clips here.
It's all right. You're here for the road. Yeah, we will definitely put in the background. It's about a 2-minute long demo. And reading from an article at Polygon, it says, with the 2022 GDC conference kicking off this week, the developers behind the Unity game engine have published a new real-time graphics tech demo called Enemies. The demo is its own showcase for the technology, but the aforementioned blog on Unity's website explains how some of the new real-time rendering tech works and what makes it so impressive, specifically talking about the focus on the character's hair and face, which I did read through, and there's a lot of tech going on in there. All in all, you'll be watching it here for those of you who are on video. It's essentially a woman sitting down playing chess with nobody, and half the chessboard is like tipped over. So it's kind of weird, but the focus is supposed to be on the representation of, an actual human, right? The skin and the lighting and the facial expressions, very similar to what we saw, I believe it was last year with Unreal Engine 5 and their meta-human demonstration, if you'll recall. But I don't know. You be the judge as you watch this video. It's impressive. It's no doubt impressive. It looks a little odd to me, to be honest. I don't know if we're experiencing the uncanny valley situation here as we start to get closer to realism. Something feels off, and I don't know what it is really to pick on it. But all in all, it is impressive. These demos always are incredibly impressive, and I'm excited for a future where we're seeing games actually utilizing this tech, right? This year, from Unity as well as Unreal Engine 5 looks fantastic. But man, it just feels like, well, when is that going to happen? Are we going to be another 5 years before we see this in games?
I mean, it's probably still at least a few years out, but
yeah,
it's exciting to see. I'm always curious, like that uncanny valley. It seems like the better we get at these things, our brains can still detect the slight variation that this isn't a real human. And I really wonder, can we ever get past that? I'm not sure, but it is still cool.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I kind of think that, I don't know. I kind of have this thought when it comes to video games that we should embrace the non-realness of it. And I don't mean that like we should never try to strive for a realistic looking game, but I feel like we should add some sort of stylized art, like on purpose, to kind of combat that uncanny valley feeling that you get. And I wonder if that's why, like, if you go back and look, maybe you can splice in some video too of the meta-human presentation that Unreal Engine 5 had. I feel like, I don't know if it looked better, but I liked the way the people looked in that demonstration better than this Unity demonstration. And I think part of it is owing to the fact that it maybe doesn't look as real. I don't know. It's a very interesting thought that we might have to toy with as we get farther into this next generation of engines that people will be using. So exciting nonetheless. We'll see where it takes us. All right, so to close out here, we've got some quick hitters. Some quicker stories we'll get through. Number 10, CD Projekt Red confirms new Witcher game in development. and that they are using Unreal Engine 5. So they've picked their side with these new engines. And let's see, from cdprojectred.com, it says the teaser image for the new game features a medallion accompanied by the phrase, "A new saga begins." A sentence cut me off there. I was like, the phrase "a." The phrase "a new saga begins." Beyond this initial confirmation of a new saga in the Witcher franchise, no further details such as development timeframe or release date were provided. So, quite frankly, we don't know much other than that it's being made, which I think we probably could have guessed anyways. How do you
If
feel about this?
anything, yeah, I'm excited. I liked The Witcher 3. This feels like them saying that there's more than one game ahead of us. Like a new saga is not one game, probably. I could be wrong, but it feels kind of like they're saying
Like the
there's a
first
new
in a trilogy or something.
there's a new generation of games. I think
Right.
some of the speculation is that this will focus on Ciri, who is in The Witcher 3 and one of the main characters of the Witcher universe, but
Okay.
she's kind of a younger character who's kind of growing up into her own Witcherhood. I don't know if that's a word, but I think the saga is probably going to focus on her. We'll have to wait and see. This is good. I think it's expected. Witcher's one of their big money makers. The fact that they're using Unreal Engine 5 is probably good. It seems like maybe one of the big technical drags of Cyberpunk 2077 was the fact that they were concurrently trying to upgrade their Red engine in tandem with building out this new game. I don't know if that's all there was to it. I don't work there, but it seems like a reasonable guess that them trying to juggle two massive things at once slowed them down and made it hard for them to deliver on their promises. So I'm hoping that this allows them to better deliver with the next Witcher game and launch something in a better state that better meets their consumers' expectations. So it's good news. We probably still have a ways to go with this, but yeah, we'll wait and
Yeah.
see.
No doubt years away, and hopefully may it not be another Cyberpunk. But quick side tangent regarding the issues Cyberpunk had and talking about the old engine and trying to update it. I do think we're really starting to see, we're kind of seeing an era here where so many games companies have become familiar with an engine and worked with it for like over a decade at this point, right? And I think we're really starting to see that weigh down on the games that we're getting. Think of Elden Ring. Elden Ring looks very similar to Dark Souls 3, right? It's just, you can tell that the weight of the game is kind of crunching underneath the age of the engine. Even think too of, I've been hearing similar things about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Same engine as Borderlands for a long time. And I just feel like we're getting to, maybe Unreal Engine 5 is coming at the perfect time because a lot of these companies need to put the resources and the time into starting fresh on a new engine at this point. Like we've just gone too long on some of these old engines and it's really starting to show in some of these games. So
Yeah.
I hope that's the case.
It's a strange irony that we have this new hardware, the PS, I mean, if you can get it, I guess so, but the PS5, the Xbox One Series X, these are really powerful machines from a hardware standpoint. And yet many of the games that are now being released a year and a half into their life cycle don't necessarily look next gen. There's been a few for PlayStation. I'm speaking more for PlayStation. I don't have as much experience with Xbox, but
Xbox has a few, but yeah.
I think it's similar, right? And so, we've had a few that look out of this world next gen on these consoles, but a lot of these games, while, Elden Ring is an incredible, brilliant game that is one of my favorite things I've played. And yet the age of the engine is felt, like you said. It's a massive game, so there is that, but
It's evident,
I think the weight of the tech debt of just these legacy engines is catching up to us. And we now have this hardware that consumers have in their house, and we're not fully able to make use of it because of the software side of things, which feels kind of ironic.
Yeah, I would agree. So anyways, end of side tangent there, but yeah, it does say new saga. So I guess we could glean this does seem like it's starting a new trilogy or whatever it may be. And then also people have speculated, like you said, apparently Ciri, but just the fact that it's a different medallion than Geralt's seems to indicate we will have a different protagonist in this game. So kind of a new era they're starting here. We'll wait to find out. Story number 11. Suicide Squad is officially delayed. So we had previous reports that this was the case, that Gotham Knights got its release date and Suicide Squad would be delayed to 2023. And here we have official confirmation of this from Sefton Hill on Twitter. We've made the difficult decision to delay Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League to spring 2023. I know a delay is frustrating, but that time is going into making the best game we can. I look forward to bringing the chaos to Metropolis together. Thanks for your patience. So, just some quick confirmation there. I got the story and I was like, didn't this already happen? But this is just confirmation of that. Story number 12. Xbox Game Pass is currently offering 3 months of Marvel Unlimited, which is a comic subscription if you have Game Pass or get Game Pass, and is only valid for people who are new to Marvel Unlimited. So if you're into that or think, hey, maybe I could be into comics and haven't checked them out, be aware of that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I know you read a little bit of comics. Have you ever dabbled with Marvel Unlimited?
A little bit. It's been a while. It's been years since I used it. It's a neat idea. Comics are hard to keep up with because there's a lot of them, a lot of heroes, a lot of different variations. It's a fun hobby. It's just I have a lot of hobbies, so I've kind of strayed from it. But yeah, Marvel Unlimited is neat. A subscription service. It's good bang for your buck. Comics is kind of an expensive hobby if you read a lot of them, so it's kind of a nice way to read a lot of things without having to pay for lots of bagging and boarding of physical cardboard or comics that you have to then find storage for in your house. So it's neat. It's worth checking out.
Yeah. From there, we'll swing into story number 13, which is, as Xbox continues to add value at every turn, it seems, the rumor mill. We're taking a trip on down to the rumorville, and Sony is supposedly set to unveil whatever Spartacus is next week. So these rumors seem to be well-founded, but quite frankly, man, we've had so many Sony-related rumors over the past month that none of them have been accurate. So Sony's kind of one of those companies right now. Whenever a rumor comes out, I really mostly disregard it just because they are so tight-lipped about what they do.
Yeah. And they don't feel the most consistent lately either. So it's hard to really pin them down. But I feel like I've heard a lot of kind of mutterings of Spartacus over the past however many months. Yeah. So I'm sure at some point we're going to see something. I guess we'll see if it's next week or not.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. It's just a matter of when.
Stay tuned right here on Neverlag. We will let you know as soon as the news is broken.
Will we be talking about Spartacus being unveiled next Friday?
The only way to know is to like and subscribe.
Tune in to find out. It's going to be great. Final story, number 14, is Patch Watch.
Patch Watch.
You got to come up with something better, man. I'm floundering here.
Yeah. No, I think that's it. Patch Watch. Patch Watch. Yeah. We got to rip off. We just have to rip off some other brand's jingle every single week.
There you go. So there's not much to this one this week. Just a quick note. This is actually from last week. Elden Ring's new patch 1.0.1.03.2. Ugh, so many numbers in these patch numbers we get these days. But it adds a host of pretty cool things. New quests and balances, NPC icons on the map, which is pretty cool. Let's see here. Some more details. It added endings to various NPC quest lines, new phases for NPCs like Dialos, Nefeli, and Kenneth Height, as well as Gatekeeper.
Kenneth Height.
I know. As well as Gatekeeper Gostok. I don't remember how he says his name. It also added a new NPC, Jar Baron, which you can find in the secret Jar Village. So that's cool. I really didn't expect them to add. These must have just been not complete, obviously, but it's interesting to see them adding actual progression to character quest lines in the game. Let's see. It also fixed Nefeli's quest line. There was an issue with it where it wasn't able to progress, it seems. They fixed a save breaking exploit that invaders were using to essentially destroy your save file, which is great.
I heard about that. Yeah. I'm glad they fixed that quickly.
Absolutely. I feel horrible for anyone that this happened to because it's such a long game that would just make you cry. But apparently invaders were able to teleport you to inaccurate coordinates where you would be continually stuck falling is the sense I got. and the game couldn't get you out of it. So you would continually, even if you reloaded the game, you would be there just falling and dying.
Mhm.
True purgatory. So they fixed that. That's great. Till we find the next exploit that's ruining games. I've been playing offline, so I might continue that. Let's see. And then, yeah, the only other thing of note, I mean, there's a lot more if you want to read through the patch notes. Be my guest. These are the headliners, but adding the NPC icons on the map is actually pretty great because
That
as
is
I've
good.
gotten
That
farther,
helps. Yeah.
at first I was kind of like, oh, I mean, whatever, as long as we don't get all Ubisoft with it. Do we need
Mhm.
this? I'll just keep notes. But as I get further in the game, I'm like, there are NPCs everywhere, and
Yeah.
also NPCs move throughout your journey.
Mm.
And sometimes you're like, oh, I need to go talk to this guy. If you had to figure out / remember where he is, which you already kind of have to do, right? Because it's a big map anyways. You have to look on the map and find him.
Mhm.
I think this is a great quality of life situation here. So
This is a good balance because you still have to
yeah,
like
I think so.
either mentally or physically take note of like some of the specifics if you really want to immerse yourself, which I know some people love, some people not as much. I like it, but this is a nice one. Because what I've been doing is just like using other markers on the map to try and signify if someone was there, and it'll be nice just to have
Right.
the
But then you don't
NPC
know who it
icon.
is. And you're like, ugh.
Exactly.
And this way, like you said, it's just enough help where it's like, okay, I
Mhm.
know Kenneth Height is in this region of the map. Let me double check. Okay, yeah, he's right here. So you
Yeah.
still have to kind of like, you can't just not know, otherwise you'll spend 10 minutes scouring the map anyway.
Gotta
So
know where Kenneth Height is.
you
Kenneth
got to know where
Height.
Kenneth Height is. He's an interesting feller. So that'll do it, man. Good grief, what a week. I feel like we even left a few stories out, but you got to pick and choose here. So if you stuck with us till the end, thank you for joining us for This Week in Gaming. We appreciate you. Don't forget, you can find us and support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/neverlag. Any little bit helps, as well as leave a comment about any of these news stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And we will see you next time on Neverlag.